Well, we did it. Todd Geek, or Todd Fast Fit Fingers, and myself, Shaunorama, we sat down in the studio this past Sunday, or the next 2 Sundays ago, or 3 Sundays ago, based on when you're listening to this, and we recorded a penultimate triple episode. Great stuff. So we actually did this in 3 parts, and this is the first part. And in this part, Todd and I get together and we just started yakking about stuff. We decided we wanted to talk about some recent woes with my bro, with the house. He had some issues in the home. He had 3 breakdowns in the home that he had to look after, and we tell the story of it. And my brother is a master storyteller. When he tells a story, it reminds me of my grandpa Ghoul on my mom's side. And when he would tell a story, and he's just a good storyteller. And it reminds me of home, back home, people sitting around the table, and one person would be telling a story about what happened, and everyone would be transfixed. And it could be a story about nothing. It could be a story about how you picked up a phone book and read through it. And he's just really good storyteller. So in this part, in part 1, Todd's telling you about his home woes, and I share an own woe of mine with a broken stove, and we kind of talk about that stuff, and it's kind of a lot of fun. We kind of meander off in a couple of directions here and there, but I think you're gonna like it. It was good. It was enlightening. And there's 2 parts after this. I'm going to intro each one so you know what's going on, but the other 2 parts are equally as well. Unfortunately, as was advertised, we were supposed to have Voices by Tracy with us, as well as Corey Geek, and neither one of them were able to attend because of other stuff going on. It was really sad that they couldn't make it on the show, but it gave Todd and I a chance to talk, just the 2 of us, which is kind of nice. So anyway, this is part 1 of the 3-part epic studio drama, SeanGeek Podcast. Well,
no, I just hit record.
Okay. Welcome to the SeanGeek Podcast.
Welcome.
With Mel Brooks over there.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what Mel Brooks does, so.
I don't know, I was trying to think of myself.
Correct.
And if someone comes up to you with an attitude, you say, "Eat me."
There you go.
Yeah, so we're short a couple of people here today.
Yeah, we're live in the studio.
Yeah. The reason we do these studio... Wow, I'm losing my voice.
Are you?
I don't know. The reason we do these studio sessions is we can get more people together, but it's just you and me today.
Yeah, that's good. Well, we get a full, we get the studio sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the sexy sound.
Sound of desire.
What's new with you?
Well, you know when they say bad things come in 3s?
Oh, yeah.
I think we just hit the 3rd one.
The 3rd or the 12th?
The 3rd one. Well, I'm saying the 3rd, and that's what I'm sticking to.
Because now it's done.
I hope so. The first one was the freezer condenser fan, the one that's up on top of the freezer that keeps everything, keeps the air flowing. And that quit. So most of the stuff in the fridge and freezer had to be thrown out. So I went to the store to grab the part. They said they had it, and I went there with the actual part, and it says, "Oh, we don't carry that one."
Oh,
well, yeah. So, there's 3 different ones for that particular model. Well, how can that be? A fan is a fan is a fan. Why would you switch the fan halfway through the model? But anyway, they didn't have it, and I think it was like $300 or $400 just for this fan. So in the meantime, I needed something. So I went to Canadian Tire and bought one of those Danby fridges for they're on sale for like $169 or something. So I figured, well, I need something. So I went there. So I bought a whole fridge for that instead of a fan for $300-400, right? So brought that home, brought the fan in, had one of the guys at work put a different type of fan in. So I put that in. So that's
You're lucky you get this work connection.
Yeah.
Because, man, otherwise...
Oh, yeah. Because
otherwise you're just buying a new freaking fridge.
Well, everything I run into, it seems to be, I could just go to work and figure it out and get things running again. So that was item number one. Item number two was the kitchen sink backed up. So that was a fun trip. So I tried the plunging thing. That didn't seem to work because any time that I would plunge, what happens is it goes down the drain, and then it goes down to where it's like a T. So it goes down, and then the other part goes up to the vent. So I guess wherever it was plugged, every time I was plunging, all I was doing was just sending everything up the vent. So that didn't help me at all. So I went and bought that acid stuff. Like at work, we used to use.
Probably like fumes coming out of your top stock there.
Well,
what's that strange smell coming from Todd's house?
It's a sink. So yeah, so I went and got some acid, put that down the drain, let that sit for a bit. It was bubbling up like crazy, like, someone had a bunch of body parts in a big vat of acid. Like it was just kind of...
It's the stuff from Breaking Bad.
Yeah, that type of, it's got muriatic acid in it, so...
What is it? What kind of acid?
Muriatic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you know what that is? Should I be worried? Why is the door locked behind me?
No, that's just what it says right on the bottle. So, So I put that down. That didn't work. It said wait another 20 minutes, add some water. So now when you're adding water, now there's water in the sink because originally I had vacuumed out most of the water. So now this acid is now eating away at the stainless steel sink, and it's still not draining. So then I had to call work. I was lucky enough to be able to, in the end, because I had used my hand auger, I tried a drill auger. They weren't long enough. I ended up having it was huge machines that has like a 50-foot cable on it. So I fed that through. Finally got that unplugged. A week, 2 weeks later, it plugged up again for some reason. So I just went for the big guns. I just went to get the big auger, did it. Luckily.
How long was that freaking thing? How long was that auger?
Probably about 100 feet. I would say, well, either 50 or 100 feet. I don't know. It's pretty long. It comes in there's a big drum. And then a foot pedal, and this thing just goes. But you have to kind of be careful because all the crap that's been pulled out of other septic things have been pulled back into this unit, and now are flailing about inside. And sometimes there's a few drops here and there, so we had to kind of really disinfect the kitchen once that was done. That was number two. Number three was the air conditioner. The air conditioner went on Friday.
So this is new. This I hadn't heard. The other ones I'd heard, but this I haven't heard.
So it's a little warmer in the studio than normal. So.
It's because there's a lot of desire here.
Yeah, it's all the heat. So yeah, so hopefully Monday that'll happen, and we got windows.
So you get somebody
installed at the same time actually Monday.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
All the windows?
The upstairs windows.
Oh yeah. Well,
yeah. So these ones are getting done, and then actually we're getting the roof done too, because the roof is pretty pooched. Things are starting to curl up.
But with the air conditioner, you hired somebody.
The air conditioner is actually, the person who actually installed it. So we're getting him to come out and try and fix it. He came out Friday. I guess he thought he had it, but didn't. So he's gone for the weekend. So now we're going to wait. So that's.
I thought you were going to try to fix it yourself after the success of the sink.
Well, I think the air conditioner is, what is it, 220? I don't know. I'm not gonna fit around with that. That's like stoves, but kind of depending what it is. If I'm changing one of those little, the dials that adjust the temperature.
Yep.
And you always have that one special dial, right?
Yeah.
There's always one that you use the most, right? Everyone who has a stove probably does that.
Do you have a favorite stove top, like a burner that's your favorite?
Yes. That's the one.
Damn, that's true.
That's the one. Yeah, I think everyone has that. And there's always the...
Sylvie just posted this on her Facebook. What's your favorite corner of your stovetop?
Yeah.
So what's yours?
Bottom left.
bottom left.
It's the big.
Damn it! You and Sylvie both.
It's the bigger one. Plus, it has, and this is a weird stove.
Is it the double? It can be a single or a double in size.
No.
Or you have a. What do you have? The coil on yours?
Mine's. It's flat, but the coil is on the inside of it. It's not. It's not.
Oh yeah.
It's not the ones that look
yeah.
like those easy off.
Yeah.
Wick burner things.
Yep.
It's not like that. It's built in.
That's a good description.
Well, it's the only other thing I could think of.
That's going to be the
same.
picture on the podcast today.
Raid. Yeah. In no way sponsored whatsoever.
Unless you want to.
Yeah. So yeah, and there's also a burner that just does not work. So you probably have one in there that's, you know what, this one I never use because it's just a pain. It takes forever to heat up. But getting back to the 220 electrical is what I was getting at, was the actual control. That those I can change. Those infinite heat controls. That's pretty good. Yeah, I should get one and fix it, but you get lazy and you just use the other burner. So
Yeah. On ours, and I actually looked it up. We have a bunch of burners that don't follow the temperature. You put it on medium, it's on high.
yeah.
But then you turn it off, turn it back on, then now it's suddenly back on medium.
Yeah.
But then I looked it up because it's a glass top or whatever those damn things are called.
Right.
And there's a lot of electronics in it. And apparently I don't know for sure, you might need to reset them or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So the front right burner, which is my favorite burner.
Front right. Hers is the front left.
Yeah. It only cooks on high.
Oh. So
But not always though. Sometimes it'll actually cook the way it's supposed to.
Oh.
But you get no way of knowing. Like, it's one thing on stoves that they never have. If you set it to medium, it's on medium. It doesn't tell you, like, your oven, it tells you it's at 475 it's at 400 degrees or 450 or whatever. It tells you.
Right.
And all the new ones, they tell you if it's been preheated or not.
Preheated or not.
Like when you turn it on, it's preheating until it gets up to the temperature you've asked.
So the actual burner does the
No, inside the oven. Inside the oven.
Well, the oven, yeah.
Yeah.
Once it gets the temperature, it shuts off. And
it beeps and it maintains that temperature. But the stovetop stuff doesn't ever do that.
Mine does.
Seriously?
I have that one burner I was talking about. That's the one burner.
Oh, well, then I would use that too.
That actually has a thing that shows you like 300, 350, 450, up to 500 or something like that.
Shit.
Yeah, it was odd because when we first got it, we looked at it and went, what is this? Like, why are all these numbers on here? Because it's either low, medium, high, and then you have little notches in between. This one actually had numbers. I'll show it to you after.
Yeah, I want to see it. We almost
used one on Kijiji we bought.
Yeah.
We
almost replaced our stove, but what happened? There's I think it's 2 panes of glass on the stove. Like when you open the oven part, oven part, there's like 2 panes of glass.
Okay.
I guess it's there, like the outside pane of glass is so you don't burn your hands if you were to touch it, right?
Okay.
Oh, who's this? Is it Corey?
Do you have a live caller?
I could reach up to 1,321 people if I spend a bunch of money.
Of course. Money, yeah.
On Facebook.
You want to throw money at stuff, they'll do it for you.
That's not important. You interrupted our podcast for nothing.
No.
Steve Jobs. What's that guy's name? Zuckerberg.
Yeah, Jobs, I think, is...
It's Microsoft.
He's passed away, I believe.
Yeah, Jobs did, yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking Microsoft.
You give him
That's
shit.
not what I meant. Yeah. But anyway, somehow though, like we clean the inside of the stove, right? We use all these chemical cleaners and shit, and your house reeks for days. And even though like it's never an easy clean job.
You don't have one of those auto ones where you just set it and then you let it go for a couple hours?
Yeah, well, it doesn't work. It doesn't work that great.
Oh.
So Sylvie decided, hey, you know what? I'm not too loud, am I?
Who?
Me, compared to you.
I don't think so.
All right.
We have the same levels.
Okay. Sylvie decided she was going to clean the inside of the glass because somehow there's always grease or something that gets in between the panes.
Oh, yeah.
And it looks gross. So she decided she was going to open it. So she's going to take apart the front door.
Oh, no. Okay.
So you already know where this is going.
I've taken one apart before.
Yeah, well, she took it apart. She popped the one screw out,
Right.
I guess, and then I don't know if she popped the second one out because it might have just came out. And the whole thing literally collapsed and almost shattered on the floor.
Oh.
But it fell, but nothing shattered, thankfully. But it's so heavy, I guess. It's a 2-person job. You have to have one person holding it while the other person unscrews it, because the whole thing literally fell apart into a million pieces.
Did you pull the oven door off?
No,
Oh.
I think that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But that's not what she did.
Okay.
I didn't even realize you could do that, actually.
Yeah. It's pull up and then out. It's
So
almost
then
like
you
a
could
fork.
okay. That makes sense then. So anyway, the whole thing fell apart, and then she's trying to reassemble it.
Mm-hmm.
But the screws on this thing to hold it, to hold the front part to the back part, and then you get the 2 panes of glass inside, and then you've got these strips on each side of it, and then you have the top part which has the handle.
Right.
You have to hold all those parts at the same time while you're screwing the screws in to put it back together. So it's like a 7-person job.
Well,
I guess if it was laid flat,
yes.
it probably would have been fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the screws that were holding all those levels of paint, like the panes, the front, the back, everything that holds the handle.
Right.
So there's like, is that what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points that are all held together by 2 little screws. You can't see the visual here, but the screw is like this long.
Okay, so that's what,
And-
half inch?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
And then, so it's probably just under a ½ inch thick, all of those levels.
Right.
So when you put that screw in,
Yeah, so they
Just
go through
the-
a bunch of sandwich.
yeah, but once you
Layers.
put the screw in, you're literally, it's like an eighth of a turn connects it all together. So there's only that much of the screw holding everything together.
Wow.
So obviously, I mean, you turn it a ½ of a turn the other way, and the whole thing just literally explodes apart, which is what happened. So I'm like, why are you using such small fucking screws to hold all of that together? And it's not going to have, I don't know if I'm using the right terminology here, but does it have the right tensile strength? Like or not tensile, what do you call that? Is there enough strength in that screw to hold everything together for an eighth of a turn
Well,
of a screw? It doesn't make any sense.
Sounds like it's like a super coarse thread.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a drill bit. How the windings are. It's almost
Yes.
like it's you turn a little bit and it goes in a lot. Like
Yes,
really
yeah.
fast. Yeah.
So anyway, when that happened, everything fell and everything bent.
Okay.
So anyway, Dylan, a good friend of ours, that we should have him on the show sometime.
Sure.
Yeah, we were just at his place last night. I'll tell you that story later.
Okay.
Anyway, he came over and he's a airplane mechanic kind of guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's got all the super high tools, super strong, like great torque and all that sort of stuff. So he came over and he brought some industrial screws that are meant to hold aircraft together.
Right.
And he came in and he put everything in. We did together. We held everything together. And then he tightened those screws in. But then he was able to torque it enough to just like sandwich the shit together. And then we worked at bending it back into place.
Wow.
So anyway, he got it working. But the kids, whenever they go in the kitchen and they're,
Running
asking for food,
Right.
they'll lean on that handle.
Right.
Fell apart again.
Oh.
So
So you can't even pull the handle.
you can't pull the handle at all. The handle's tentatively in place.
Wow.
And because it's bent, like I tried to bend it back into place. But if it's not perfectly bent back into place. So now what's happening is the interior light to the oven that tells you the oven door is open is on a lot of the time. But because of the there's a button to turn on and off the interior light.
Okay.
So when it's on like that, because it's not quite closed, if I turn it off, it'll turn off. But the minute there's the least bit of jiggle in that door,
Turns on.
it turns on again.
Wow.
So it's annoying. So I've bent it a few times, and then it fell apart that second time when the kids were leaning on it because they were fighting, and they're like and pulling on the handle, and then the thing snapped, and then they got real scared because it's like,
No.
Yeah.
Police are coming.
So anyway, I actually went and got longer screws,
Okay.
and now everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
But you know how many times I had to redo this damn thing?
Yeah.
And Sylvie's like, screw it, let's just go get another one. I'm like, do you know how much a new one is? Like,
yeah, it gets to a point where it's like, you know what? I can't deal with this anymore.
yeah, and then you just buy something new. And Sylvie's not, she's not that person that can work on stuff like that. And I'm the guy.
Right.
And the traditional role in traditional families is the guy has to figure that shit out.
Yeah.
Or lie and get a new one. And say, well, we tried everything we did.
That's when you have like 8 guys standing around the stove with beer.
Yeah.
The king of the hill. Just
Yeah.
kind of discussing it.
What do you think there?
Well, it's your jing jangle's not jingling anymore. Yeah, I had the same. Well, I had something a little different. You know when you bring the stove, the door down.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's kind of spring loaded.
Yeah, it's spring loaded, which was our problem because that's the spring loading part was what we had to hold against to screw this together because the spring loaded part was actually ripping it apart every time.
Ah,
Anyway, but go on.
but yeah. So what mine was the actual spring itself broke. So then the whole front, the door just slammed down, and it's very heavy. It's
Yeah.
like a garage door, like when
Sure.
you don't have that spring on it. So you're trying to pull it up and down. It's pretty hard. So I had to take it apart, look at the spring. The spring broke, so I had to try and bend the spring and use a good piece of it to try and
Oh
feed
my
it through the
God,
hole
that
again.
springs.
Yeah, it's very, very hard. It's doable,
Yeah.
but yeah. So I did that, put it together. But now the spring was a little
Loose.
hard. There was more intensity to it because now the spring's shorter, right?
Yeah.
So now it takes a little more force to actually open the door. When you close it, you had to hold on to it to be careful.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
Bang! Yeah. So yeah, that was my stove issue.
Let's see if this works. What are you doing?
Yeah, we need to clean ours too because I think we're cooking something.
You have chosen wisely.
I don't know.
Yeah, we got to clean ours too.
I hate cleaning it.
You need to we have the one where you put it in, you set it for 2 hours
Yeah.
or something, and then you just let it go.
You know how much energy that expends?
Well,
Check your hydro.
Oh, I'm sure it just spins like
Yeah.
a zzz.
I did it. I remember the first time I did it on a self-cleaning stove. I can't remember how much it was, but I'm like, what the hell was that? Like, oh, we cleaned our stove. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
But then the house, like, I don't know.
It smells, and then you have to.
Yeah.
It's never sealed properly because it has vent holes, right? You have to have. So we have those on the top, and then you have to make sure it's in the middle of winter or something, or summer, or
Yeah.
sometime where you can actually open the windows.
Yes, yeah.
So, but anyways, yeah,
Yeah. Anyway,
that's our stove.
that's our stovetop.
Stovetop story.
You know they
Brought
have
to you
those.
by stovetop.
You know how they have those campfire stories? These
Yeah.
are stovetop
Yes,
stories.
Stovetop story.
There's a T-shirt.
Oh,
Oh yeah, one thing we didn't talk about was the Divine shirt company.
like as in Avril.
No. No, the T-shirt company I was talking to, they're actually
The one who made your shirts?
no, our shirts were made by Zazzle, and then we had to get our money back because they faded.
Oh.
But I found a T-shirt company that can make T-shirts for us, and once we're ready, we're gonna make them through them. But his business and a whole bunch of other ones burnt down. There was that big fire on Jarvis.
Yes. That was like a whole block.
Well, that building is a whole
building,
block.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a massive building. There's a bunch of bands that have their gear in there, and that's where they, practice.
Yeah.
there's a bunch of artists that use it as art space to create their work. So like painters and sculptors and all that sort of stuff.
It's all gone.
And then there's businesses in there that rent space, which the Devine Shirt Company was renting in there as well.
Right.
And I was there like a week before, 2 weeks before, talking with the guy. And Scott Devine is like really nice guy. Very much like us. Like,
Could have him on the show.
actually, we should have him on the show.
Sure.
Scott, if you're listening, reach out to me. Actually, yeah, I think, you know what? He'd probably have some really great stories because he's doing T-shirts for a lot of bands and other things.
Yeah.
That'd be good, actually.
Sure.
And some extra promotion to get him up to snuff. He's got a Kickstarter campaign to kind of raise funds because he did lose some stuff, and I'm pretty sure he has insurance, but insurance doesn't cover everything.
No.
It never
Sure.
will.
Sure, we can do it. We can help him out. Sure.
Yeah.
Why not?
I also wanted to. So last night, we're doing stories, I guess, here in the first hour. I know this person here.
Okay.
See if you can pronounce the name.
I was going to say shenanigan. Shenanigator. Writer and shenanigator.
Yeah.
Susie Krivak.
Yeah. She's a friend of Dylan's. We were at Dylan's place last night, and I've met her a bunch of times. Really nice gal. Her and Frank, her partner, they're good people, and they've been friends with Dylan and Tina for dog's age,
Right.
for sure. Anyway, she started writing a blog, and she covers country music. So her blog, I just wanted to kind of pimp this a little bit.
So she covers artists.
Yeah, she covers artists in the country music industry in general. So where's the website? Oh, here we go. redwhiteandcountry.com. Make sure you put the A-N-D for the and. So redwhiteandcountry.com. I was talking to her last night. She seems to be doing really good with a blog. She does a blog on music, on country music. And then she's also got a show, which I don't know if it's on here or not. Oh, she doesn't have it on the card yet. She started doing a radio show as well.
Oh.
For some radio station, and I'm thinking she said Sudbury, where her and this other gal, they talk about country music and stuff. And she does go to a lot of, like, she goes to the Canadian Music, CCMAs, I think they're called, Canadian Country Music Awards.
Mm-hmm.
She goes to there often, and she's talking to a lot of people. Then she does interviews and stuff like that. She's doing really good, and it's really, like, I always, when I see someone local that we know, or kind of know, or know through, 2 degrees of separation, I always like to kind of point them out on the show because they're doing good, support local. And because we have people that are outside of our sphere of Manitoba, check it out. Like, it's worth checking out. She's a really got a real spitfire of a personality, so she's really interesting. So she's going to be uploading her stuff into podcast format as well. So probably help her out, get going on that. But check that out. I'll put a link somewhere in the episode here.
So she sounds like a ball of energy.
Yeah.
Ball of fire. Yeah.
Yeah, she's anyway. I don't know. She's pretty interesting person. So I thought, hey, promote her. What else is going on? Oh yeah, so last night we went to Dylan's, as I said.
Right.
Now, who is Dylan? Dylan is a Canadian military person.
Mm-hmm.
He's done a couple of tours, like Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
Been friends with him. Like, I met his wife first because we worked together, and she's really cool. And he is a tabletop gamer, usually hard sci-fi kind of tabletop. So he plays Traveler or Mega Traveler. Mm-hmm. He actually wrote a Traveler on the Traveler website. I think the Traveler website. I can't remember who owns Traveler now. But he actually wrote a whole campaign, like not a campaign, but a supplement for the game,
Right.
which has been published online.
Oh.
And it's incredibly popular. And he's run games. I've had him in games. Like, I've run games where he's played. He's really cool. He's a guy you'll kind of always want to have in your game. Either running your game or playing in your game. He's a really interesting guy. Anyway, his backyard backs onto the mosque, like the big mosque in the city.
Okay, yeah.
Like the central headquarter mosque or whatever in my end of town. And it was the end of Ramadan yesterday.
Okay.
So they had this, it's called the EID. I can't remember what that stands for, but they have a giant fireworks display, end of Ramadan, every time.
Okay.
Like every year. And because their backyard is the backyard to the mosque. So there's a giant field behind the mosque that's never been developed into anything. It's just this giant, massive open field.
Right.
And that's where they have the fireworks. It's large enough that it meets, the city rules for fireworks. Mm-hmm. And they have a fireworks display better than anything at the Forks, anything that you ever see Canada Day anywhere else. It was 15 minutes long. Mm-hmm. And it was in stages. There was so many fireworks you could see in that whole giant field they had. They had a set kind of at the far back, and then they had another set 10 feet or 20 feet in front of that, and then another set 10 and 20 feet in front of that. So it was in stages. And I actually posted it on the Instagram.
Right, for safety reasons.
Yep.
To have some distance, yeah.
Yeah. But the direction of the fireworks shooting into the sky was really damn cool. Like there was an orchestration to it. It wasn't just set off a bunch of fireworks. There's an orchestration. And there was a part where the one set of fireworks, it's got a bunch of it just does that like that sound. Right. And but in those there's also bak 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 bak. So it's bak bak. It was a beat. I don't know how the hell they did that, but it was a beat. It was like boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. It was an actual beat, and I have no idea if that was intentional. But I'm like, and Abby was like, she knew.
Was she dancing?
Well, no, she was tired. It was like 10:30.
Oh, okay.
But she was kind of watching, and you could hear. I don't know how you do that with fireworks, where you can do it. And then there was a part where the fireworks were kind of shooting off towards the left. And then they started like slightly angling. It was just like incessant. Like, boom, 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 boom. And it was kind of going. It was leftward shooting, and then it started to go a little bit like kind of more 90 degrees, and then a little bit more. And it gave you the sensation that the sky was leaning and starting to fall towards the right. It was just a visual. The way the visual looked like, and the way the smoke came off the fireworks, it looked like the whole sky was starting to fall.
Wow. So as it was going pow or whatever, and then things were starting to come down, other things were going up. So everything just kind of skewed. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was like a visual, what do you call it? It's not exactly what was happening, but it gave you the illusion that that's what was happening. It's amazing fireworks. Like those are the best fireworks I've ever seen. And every year it's just more complex. And
wow.
Yeah, it was good. So we did that last night. And he has a party every year, and we just go over and we did that. Yeah, it was fun. Forced the girls to stay up and watch them. And
say, were they all awake? Well, I guess they're all awake once it started.
Oh yeah, well they were playing. It was new house, new toys, so they were having a blast, and they have a cat. So
so he just moved there.
No. They actually they moved in the area before we moved in the area, and we kind of looked at, okay, well they built a house, and it's nice. Like the design's really nice. Like I really like the design. So when we were looking to buy a house, we went through the hell. Like back then, it was hard to buy a house. Houses were on the market for hours at most back then, and it was impossible to buy a house.
Right.
And even the real estate agent said, well, if you're going to buy a house,
you always have to
figure
offer
out
more.
Well, they said figure out what the value of the house is. Mm-hmm. So say it's a $250,000 house, for example. Mm-hmm. That's the asking price. $250,000. Okay. Now, you have to find out how many people bid on it. Okay, so 13 people bid on it. All right. So we'll say 10 people bid on it. Okay, so they said you have to assume everyone is going to bid $2,000 to $3,000 more. So if there's been 10 bids and you're bid number 11,
what a time to be an agent.
Yeah. Oh, those agents made criminal amounts of money. But anyway, the idea was that the idea is that you have to bid minimum $2,000 to $3,000 per bidder if you want to get that house on top of the asking price. So it's 250 grand. There's 10 bidders. They're putting $2,000 to $3,000 higher.
Right.
So we'll say 3,000. So 3,000 times 10 is 30,000. You have to bid 30 grand over. So you need to bid at least 280, probably 285 to make sure you get the house.
So you're covering the commission basically.
Yeah. That's how it was back then. So we did this a few times, like, and we kept looking at these houses and it's like, okay, well, they're asking a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And then, we would ask her dad to kind of, because her dad builds, right?
Right.
And he understands how things are. And then we'd look and go, oh, okay, well, this foundation, all right. Foundation, her dad's like, the foundation's going to be replaced. The foundation's horrible. It's cracked. There's massive cracks. And like, how can you tell? I can tell. So there's massive cracks in the foundation. So we're going to have to re-pour the foundation. That's like 30 grand or
Where was
whatever it
this?
is, or 50 grand. This is when we were trying to buy a house.
Oh, okay.
So we're looking at various areas of the city. So we're like, okay, well, if this house is 250 grand, we're going to have to spend minimum 50 grand on it.
Right.
Everything's old on it because it's 30 years old, 40 years old, whatever. So then we're also going to have to replace the roof. We're going to have to replace. So we're probably going to have to spend about 70 grand on the house, on a $250,000 house that we have to overbid by 35 grand on. So now suddenly this house that's 40, 50 years old is way more expensive than buying a pre-built house.
Yeah.
Or not pre-built, but where you build yourself.
Yeah.
How is that right?
That's. I think it was the reverse at one point. Mm-hmm. You wanted a new house, you wanted to have it built.
It was the reverse. It might be now, but it wasn't back then.
No, not back then.
So anyway, so they built, and they're like, well, there's no way we can afford to build because that was the stigma to building a house is super, super expensive. And they're like, well, they built a house. So then we started, poking around and checking with the builders and stuff, and then you see the base price, and then you have to buy the land, and then you have to build the house.
Right.
So there's a price to building the house, and then there's a price for the land.
Did they give you a turnkey price?
Well, they give.
This is the price.
Yeah.
The whole house.
Yes.
Plumbing, land
Yeah.
fees.
And and then what it does, it
water,
includes
electricity. And...
Well, they also give you a budget on what all that stuff's going to cost. So if you're in an older house, you've got older lines, older everything. So you're spending more on buying an older house.
It's not efficient.
That's not efficient. So on top of it being more expensive than building, it's also more expensive because you have to fix it because it's old.
Right.
You might have to replace the shingles and the roof. You may have to redo the fences. You may have to do whatever. There's things wrong. You may have to replace the furnace. You may have to replace, and it's not an energy efficient home. It wasn't built that way. So then you may have to get the windows done. There's this one house that we looked at. The price range was good, but we were going to have to spend $100 grand to fix that house.
Yeah.
I don't get it. So anyway, that's why we built. But because they had done it, and we went over their place a few times. The area was nice. Mm-hmm. It was new. And I'm like, why are we trying to buy a house when we could just build one? And the other thing is, if you're buying a house, you just go in, you pick your lot, you pick the style of house you want to build,
right,
and then you're done. There's no they're countering. We want an inspection. Well, they don't want you doing an inspection.
Yeah,
there's all that stuff that was going on.
Yeah, you have to be moved out by this date, or you want to take possession in this, then you have to. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, now I don't think it's that same way now. Maybe it kind of flipped the other way because the market got so out of control, and I think that's why it was more expensive to buy a house than build a house, because the market got so out of control that people still thought it was can't build a house. It's going to be way more expensive. Now, mind you, we got the bare bones minimum of a house, and we still had to do some stuff ourselves. But, I don't know. It was way better.
You can do it at your own pace.
Yeah.
You're not bound by.
Yeah. So they pretty much. I mean, they didn't personally try to convince us, but that's why we built. It was like, well, they did it, and it seemed to go pretty good. So if I had to do it again, probably.
I've heard horror stories of people buying houses and having them built.
Yeah.
And then having all the contractors, I don't know if it's maybe it's the people who tried to do it themselves rather than just having a contractor getting them to do the whole thing.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan has taught you well.
I don't know, just randomly picking. Anyway, yeah, so that's that. So anyway, it was a good time, and we should be adding stuff to our list here, people to get on the show. I actually tried try to get people on the show. I guess maybe before we actually get into doing something here.
Well, it's summertime.
Summertime, yeah. Awaiting the answer. They are looking for a jam space, and they're also looking for a drummer. They lost their drummer. I'm not going to get into the details of that for obvious reasons. But they need a drummer, and they need someone good. And my recommendation for the type of drummer they should have, it should be somebody who's showcasey, who's able to perform. I don't mean play, because playing is important, but you should be able to perform, because the last time I saw Awaiting the Answer play, their stage show, I mean, technically speaking, very solid band. Like, very solid, very technical,
right?
Very good. Like, you remember, right?
Yeah.
They're very excellent. But their stage presence was okay when we first saw them. There was Mike on bass, the old bass player for Dome before you were in there. I mean, he's always been a showman. He's great. But
he's all over the stage.
Yeah. He was the front man, kind of, in a way.
He's the one everyone's eyes were looking at.
Yeah, like all the time.
What's he up to? What's he doing?
Yeah, what's he doing? Where's he gonna go next?
Yeah.
And that was like the first time we saw them. But it was like, I liked them, and they're a super nice guys, especially Kevin, the guitar player, the guy on the left side of the stage.
Right. Left, I mean.
Yeah. But he was good. Like, he was really good, and super nice guy. Like, that was one of the guys, like, when we started playing in the scene, he was one of the guys that stood out for me. He was like, this guy's a fucking nice guy. And very honest and everything. So then, I don't know, a few performances after that, we saw them. I guess it was during the, not the Battle of the Bands, it was called Indie Week.
Okay.
I noticed that their performance, like, they were performing now. They weren't just playing. They're also performing. You're kind of running around on stage, making faces, kind of stuff like that.
Right.
And all of a sudden, it's like, okay, well, you guys had the music.
Right.
Now you got the performance.
Right.
You get the package now.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so...
so whoever replaces the drummer is going to have to be someone who's kind of a bit of a showman perhaps.
Yeah. I've been reading some interviews with Bruce Kulick, who was the guitar player for Kiss during the 80s. And he was often called the Redwood. I think they called him because he just stood there like a tree. There ain't no redwoods in Awaiting the Answer, that's for sure.
Yeah.
No redwoods there. But the problem when you're drumming in a band, and that I've always found, is it's hard to be a showman or show person, I guess. It's very difficult because you're rooted to that throne. You can't move.
Well, your arms and legs are pretty much
always in motion.
Yeah.
It's hard.
And especially that type of music. It's not like you can take a break for a couple seconds and twirl your sticks and do all this stuff. It's not 80s,
Ricky Rocket from Poison.
Yeah.
Where the beat is do do do. Now, of course, he's twirling his drumsticks
while he's doing this.
Yes.
Do do.
Very complex.
And then goes faster. Do 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 do. Oh, it's ramping up. It's ramping up.
I might have to hit the snare at some point.
Do ta do ta.
Yeah. The one drummer I remember. There's two drummers in the scene that I found were like really great showmen. That was the drummer for the Disraeli Dreamers. Mm-hmm. Remember that guy? The guy was like just nuts.
Is that the one who had like it was a big rack? It was just a big rack of drums. Or am I thinking of it differently?
I don't think he had a rack. I think he had a very simple kit. But he was like very like all over the place. The rhythm section in that band was like so freaking tight, and they played really close together. I noticed that the bass player was always leaning into to drummer and vice versa.
Right.
That guy's a really good showman. The other great showman I felt was Quoth the Sun. Brian Shankarank, I think that's right. That guy is just
Real nice guy.
really nice.
Real
guy.
nice band though. Everyone in that band.
Oh,
it's super nice. Super
Not
nice.
a bad apple in the bunch. That's
No.
for sure. I think out of all the bands we played with, I mean, I liked everybody, but I think the ones we connected with the most for me was Awaiting the Answer guys, especially Kevin and Mike. And the Disraeli Dreamers guys, like, they're just always just so personable.
Yeah.
Actually, with the funny story with Mike, when he was in Dome, before it was called Dome, before you were there,
Right.
I felt like I got along really well with Mike, and Mike got along well with me, and we were always kind of joking and stuff. He always had funny stories, and then when he and the drummer left, I think Alex was pretty bitter about it, but at the same time, it was Mike. Like, it's like I couldn't dislike the guy. He just wanted to go in another direction.
Yeah, just going in a different direction.
So
sure.
so when I met him, because we played a show with Awaiting the Answer, it was like our first show. We played Awaiting the Answer, and then I saw Mike, and I gave him a big hug, and it was like, that's just the kind of guy, like, he's just a lovely man.
Yeah. Well,
And it was like no hard feelings, no nothing, and
it is what it is, and
yeah.
you just move along through life with the points. There's no point of having animosity. That's not going to
No.
help anybody.
I think he made up with Alex a bit too, which was good. But it was, I don't know, like, I thought that guy, I don't know, I like that guy.
There you go.
Yeah.
Slapping the bass.
Slapping the bass.
What was the name of that movie?
I love you, man. I love you, man.
There you go.
Yeah.